Hi there, and welcome to Films According to Chris Wyatt. Well, 2014 has come and gone, so now it's time for me to share my choices for the top 10 worst movies of 2014. Now, I will say, looking back on 2014, we actually had quite a few good movies, and the year as a whole was actually not too bad. That said, there are still plenty of bad ones to look at, so without further ado, let's start this countdown.
Number 10. Dumb and Dumber 2.
I wouldn't say I went into this one with really high expectations. I mean, comedy sequels are rarely as good as the first, especially to films that have become minor comedy classics like the original Dumb and Dumber. But still, I thought with the original cast and the original writers and directors, just maybe we might get a decent film. Nope.
Dumb and Dumber 2 just basically recycles the same plot from the original. Harry and Lloyd once again go on a road trip to meet up with a woman Lloyd has the hots for, in this case Harry's estranged daughter. They get caught up in some criminal conspiracy, and through a series of misunderstandings, hijinks ensue. Now, I'd be okay with the cookie-cutter plot if the movie was at least funny, but aside from a handful of chuckles, most of the jokes fail pretty hard. Either they're just cheap repeats of jokes from the previous film, or they're just plain disgusting. Plus, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, not to mention the Farley brothers behind the camera, feel like they're just going through the motions this time and not putting their all into this film. I probably would have ranked this film higher on the list, but I will say that I did enjoy Rachel Melvin's performance as Harry's ditzy daughter Penny, who was the only one that seemed to put any energy into the film.
I'd rather listen to the most annoying sound in the world for 2 hours than sit and watch this piece of crap again.
You can cross that one off your bucket list.
Number 9. Tusk.
There was once a time where the words, "a film written and directed by Kevin Smith," would have gotten me excited. Boy, how those times have changed.
Yes, the former nerd legend returned to the horror genre once again with his horror comedy Tusk. Inspired by a joke from one of Smith's podcasts, the film sees Justin Long traveling to Manitoba, being kidnapped by a psychopath, and surgically turned into a human walrus. It's a crazy premise that had the potential to be an underground cult classic, but Smith proves himself to be completely incompetent when it comes to directing suspense or memorable Cronenberg-style body horror. Even his humor comes up short, namely his dialogue, which has typically been his biggest strength. Some of the actors are admittedly decent, with the exception of Johnny Depp, and speaking of former legends whose glory days have since come and gone, giving what might be a career-worst performance.
Despite all that, I will say there is one thing about this film that is truly terrifying. It's the first in a planned trilogy. Yup.
This guy wants to turn me into an animal or something. I don't want to die in Canada.
Number 8. Tammy.
And here's another example of talented people making bad movies.
This is the most frustrating kind of bad movie, one with talented people just failing miserably. Between actors like Melissa McCarthy, Susan Sarandon, Allison Janney, and Kathy Bates acting in this on-the-road comedy, you would think that might amount to a few laughs, but all come up short. Don't really have much more to say about this film, other than that it was a movie that tried hard, but just didn't come together.
I still think Melissa McCarthy is talented and funny, so let's hope this is just one unfortunate speed bump.
Shoot! Don't move! Okay. Dang it! Don't even think about it!
Number 7. Ouija.
Oh look, it's a board game that's been turned into a bad movie. There's a shocker.
I could spend time talking about how Ouija is nothing more than a derivative and uninspired cash grab horror film, how its characters are stock, how its actors are bland, how its scares are cheap and predictable, and how nothing about it even remotely stands out. But I'm actually more interested in the development of the movie. The film was produced by Hasbro Studios, a subsidiary of Hasbro Toys, mainly to market their line of Ouija boards, yet I have no clue how they thought this was good product placement. They might as well have released a statement saying, "Go see the movie Ouija, then buy a Ouija board at your local Toys R Us, and then you can summon a killer demon just like in the movie."
Yeah, you stay classy, Hasbro.
We're done! We're not playing anymore!
Number 6. Winter's Tale.
Winter's Tale. I got nothing.
This is such an odd and peculiar film that it's really difficult to explain. Of course, what else would you expect from the movie directed by the writer of Batman and Robin? Yes, I know Akiva Goldsman won an Oscar for writing A Beautiful Mind, but honestly, have you seen that film recently? It really doesn't hold up all that well. Anyway, Winter's Tale, however, is just a collection of overused fantasy romance movie tropes structured in the most convoluted way. Colin Farrell plays an angel, I think. He rides a magic flying horse that they say is actually a dog. He's pursued by a demon played by Russell Crowe, and they both travel in time to save Jennifer Connelly or something like that. Oh yeah, and Will Smith plays the devil. Honestly, this is such an inept screenplay that it's kind of a miracle that the movie exists.
I'm actually kind of tempted to give this film a recommendation just so you can all see how terribly it turned out. I mean, this is really a film you have to see to believe. Just don't say I didn't warn you.
Do not speak to me of time, demon. Its simplest ebbs and turns elude your meager understanding. Find another way, now!
Number 5. Legend of Hercules.
This is kind of interesting. In 2014, we got 2 Hercules movies. Neither one were particularly good, but Legend of Hercules is clearly the worst.
The once semi-respectable filmmaker Renny Harlin directed this god-awful adaptation. Everything here just kind of falls apart. The sets look cheap as hell, the costumes look like they are on loan from a middle school play, the actors are bad even by B-movie standards, and the action scenes are ruined thanks to an annoying speed-ramping editing technique that quickly wears out its welcome. I honestly can't believe that the film directed by Brett Ratner turned out better than this.
I'm sure someday we'll get another good Hercules movie. Just probably not anytime soon.
Tonight, we fight for our lives!
Number 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And Michael Bay strikes again.
Producer Michael Bay and director Jonathan Liebsman deliver what might be the worst adaptation of this long-running franchise. Oh yeah, I know the series had always been known for being goofy and over the top, but if those were the only problems, I'd be okay with that. What I'm not okay with is an adaptation full of terrible acting, ugly character designs, hit-and-miss effects, and a clumsy screenplay.
They did recently announce a sequel, so maybe that one will be better? Maybe? Probably not.
No, whoa, chill. It's just a mask. See? Don't freak out. Right?
Number 3. Left Behind.
2014 saw a lot of Christian and religious films get wide releases. Most of them sucked, so I'm not really sure why.
Nicolas Cage stars in this misguided reboot of the inexplicably popular Left Behind series. Well, at least popular among some religious circles. Regardless of whatever religion you follow, I actually think stories about an event like the Rapture could make for interesting movies, whether or not you actually believe in it. Of course, no matter how interesting of a premise you have, a film needs to have more than miscast actors, cheap-looking effects, terribly directed action scenes, and horrendous dialogue and melodrama. Unfortunately, Left Behind falls victim to all of those.
Oh, I never expected the film to be good. I was just hoping with Nick Cage in the lead role that we would get something of a so bad it's good, Wicker Man level cult classic. Instead, the movie's just dull and boring.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Number 2. Behaving Badly.
You may not have even heard of this movie. Well, that's mainly because not many people saw it, and there's a reason for that.
Behaving Badly is one of those comedies that tries so hard to be outrageous, crude, and raunchy, and while it does accomplish those things, in doing so it forgets to be funny, endearing, or just plain entertaining. Now, don't think for one second that I think of myself as above these kind of movies. On the contrary, I love goofy comedies and think crude humor has been done well many times in the past. For instance, this film shamelessly rips off a good sex comedy, Risky Business. Only that Risky Business was humorous, witty, and had a relatable lead character. Behaving Badly goes out of its way to be offensive, and that doing so, the humor comes off as painful and grating. Plus, seeing talented actors like Elizabeth Shue and Jason Lee mixed up in this crap only makes it worse.
Like I said, not many people saw this film, and that's probably for the better.
think this is what my parents were trying to shelter me from.
And before we get to my number 1 pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions.
Everything you know is wrong. Black is white, up is down, and short is long. And everything you thought was just so important doesn't matter. Everything you know is wrong. Just forget the words and sing along. All you need to understand is everything you know is wrong.
And the worst movie of 2014 is God's Not Dead.
Okay, so when you look at a lot of the bad films from 2014, God's Not Dead might seem like a weird film to put as my number 1 choice. But the more and more I thought about this film, the more angry I got about it, and the more I realized just how nothing in it works, like, at all.
The film is about this self-righteous college student who happens to be a Christian that debates his militant atheist professor about the existence of God. Most of the debate is portrayed through shallow and mostly meaningless philosophical discussions from both sides. This is admittedly kind of a lame hook to hang the movie on in the first place, but it's also bogged down by a handful of even worse subplots, all of which are full of offensive stereotypes. For instance, there's one about this snarky atheist liberal blogger who becomes diagnosed with cancer. There's another about a successful douchebag businessman played by Dean Cain, who also hates God. And there's one about a Middle Eastern girl who's disowned by her abusive Muslim father after she converts to Christianity. Basically, anyone in this movie who isn't a Christian is portrayed as cold-hearted, disrespectful, or without morals. Oh, I'm not kidding on that last part. The movie actually has the audacity to say that those who don't believe in God are not capable of having a moral compass. Plus, on top of all of that, the dialogue is flat, the direction is shoddy, and with the exception of Kevin Sorbo, who for some reason puts forth a solid performance, the acting is below soap opera quality. And after all of that, the movie ends with its ultimate message and what it's been building up to, which is revealed to be nothing more than a commercial for the Newsboys and Duck Dynasty. I am not joking about that. All of these shady and nonsensical messages are here to lead up to cheap product placement. I really hate this movie.
God may not be dead, but I died a bit inside watching this piece of shit.
You have no idea how much I'm going to enjoy failing you.
Yeah, but who are you really looking to fail?
Alright, thank you for watching this video. What were the worst films you saw from 2014? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click subscribe and tune in every Monday for a new video. And be sure to tune in next week where I reveal my choices for the best films from 2014. I've also got links to some of my previous videos right here, and links to my social media pages in the description box below. I'll see you next time.